Tapu Koko, seemingly a very small detail from the Pokemon Sun and Moon E3 demonstration, but then it starts appearing everywhere. Tapu Koko, Tapu Koko, Tapu Koko, what's going on? Apparently this actually means a lot, especially when you start reading the dialogue. May this Pokemon battle be an offering to our island's guardian deity, Tapu Koko. This is a part of a festival. This is the big leading up to the festival, and it's a offering to a guardian deity. That sounds pretty crazy. Also, when Hala is talking to us, before him stands Sun, or character's name, one who has met with Tapu Koko, and that gets people interested. Like, what a curious little thing Tapu Koko is. Isn't that just like that little rascal? How typical, kind of idea. People know Tapu Koko. People respect it, that this is a part of the culture, and even Kukui is talking about it. So, suddenly Tapu Koko is being discussed all over the place, and then there's other guardian deities. Each island has its own guardian Pokemon. What? And he talked about the 4 islands. He said the 4 islands of the Alola region, each island has its own guardian Pokemon. That's a lot to start thinking about, that each island, so that means there's 4 legendaries, and what could this all represent? So, the next thing to talk about are the developers. The developers were there, they were talking about Pokemon Sun and Moon, and they said they went to Hawaii to do some research, probably vacation as well, but you can't blame them. Hawaii is a pretty dope place to vacation. I hope to go there one day for a vacation, but that's aside from this video. Either way, they're talking about, that means they were there. They could have been talking to historians. They could have been talking to Hawaiian cultural experts. They have the connections. If you're a game developer and you're looking for super in-depth information, you can find the people that you need to talk to. I think that that's actually a pretty big part right here, is that they probably know information that people that have lived on the island many years probably don't understand, that unless you're like specifically looking into this. So they could, the game developers could pull out some really crazy stuff to work with, and that just kind of goes back to the Alola region with its 4 guardians. Like, what are they? How does this work? And the only thing we know about is Tapu Koko. So the biggest hint of evidence, I guess, towards Tapu Koko are these statues that we kind of see around the island. That in a gameplay trailer, we're running around, and we already know that with Hawaiian culture and stuff, that effigies and tikis have a very strong significance to the culture. So maybe this is a part of that this is meant to be some kind of tiki representation, and then we could see that behind Hala. Why at the festival dedicated to honor this Pokemon or this entity? We don't even know if it's a Pokemon yet. Why is there a statue here? Why are there statues all over the island unless it has significance to the Guardians? So it's a little detail hanging out right there, but it might mean something about Tapu Koko. And the thing is, we were visited by Tapu Koko. That this seems like it was an entity, but at the same time, gods and myths and legends and deities, they all have some kind of abstract concept. Was this a dream? After we received our Pokemon, were we visited in a dream, or was it physical, that this mischievous Pokemon hopped into us and was like, rawr? I don't know if it can even talk, but it's just like, rawr, I'm a Pokemon, and then it goes and takes off, and then someone that was like around was like, did Tapu Koko just come up to you? And remember, you just moved to the Alola region. You know nothing about the customs, you know nothing about the region or the society or anything, so you just think it's a normal Pokemon coming around. Everyone's like, oh my god, what? Tapu Koko? Really? There could be a lot of really crazy stuff going on right here, or is it just the concept of Tapu Koko that you experienced or encountered? Also, going back to the statues, what about the strange souvenir? Now it's all coming together. Now it starts to make a lot of sense, because the strange souvenir was given to us and said that it's a protector from a region far from Kalos. Well, guardian, protector, those are pretty much the same thing, and that could just be a guardian of another island, and we'll see this image all over one of the other islands, because that's the guardian of that island. That's where those people respect and worship that deity right there. So that could be big. And then we have the other 2 islands, and that's where Hawaii comes in to save the day, because tikis and all of these sculptures and trinkets from all these other gods and deities and stuff, this could be huge for what the islands could represent. And that's pretty awesome to me, I think. Now, it gets even crazier, because when we look at Hawaiian mythology, Hawaiian religion is polytheistic, which means multiple gods, multiple deities, and 4 of them are prominent. Kane, Ku, Lono, and Kanaloa. Hopefully I didn't butcher those too much, but I don't think that they're going to be too significant to what the region, like the Alola region, represents, because we have like the god of fertility, we have agriculture, we have war, and I don't remember the last one. Sorry, Lono? I don't know. I don't know anything about Hawaiian culture, so don't try to quote me on this. I'm just doing my research, doing some Googling, and seeing what I come up with, and trying to piece it into a Pokemon story, because it's not going to be the exact same. It's not like for every little bit of France was put into the Kalos region, that this is a separate universe, this is a separate world, these are separate cultures, but you gotta have inspiration from the real world to make it relatable. I think the only thing that we really need to worry about is four deities, 4 islands, 4 guardian Pokemon. But wait, legendaries usually come in trios. Like that, we have the trio legendaries that aren't the main legendaries. Even then, we have like the larger legendaries. We have the Tau trio. We have the Hoenn trio. We have all these trios that come along. You know, we get the 2 big legendaries, the 3rd legendaries, and we also have things like the legendary birds and the lake spirits and all kinds of stuff like that. But throwing a 4th one into the mix kind of spices things up, because that's going to be a lot of legendaries. That means we're getting 4 sub-legendaries, maybe? And then we also have 2 of the big legendaries, and then the 3rd legendary. We already know Magearna's confirmed as a mythical Pokemon, which is seen as a legendary because of its rarity. That's a lot of legendary Pokemon to already be discussing, and we don't even know anything about it. So that's what I mean, like, did a legendary entity encounter us? Is this actually a possibility right here? And that wouldn't be different to Pokemon. That with the Pokemon anime, that Ho-Oh flies over Ash in the first episode. Same with Suicune, that when Ash first goes to Johto, Suicune is there to just kind of chill around and stuff. And even the Diamond Pearl games, that we're very familiar with the Lake Spirits from the start. So this could actually be of quite significance. Like, what if the legendaries visiting us isn't a big deal, because that's just how Pokemon works? So it could be a possibility. And I do want to explore one other thing first. Like, what if it's not legendaries, but it's the starters, and it's what those starters represent? That it's an abstract concept once again, that Tapu Koko could be representative of a Wonko, and then the other Guardians could be the final evolutionary forms of the other starter Pokemon. Because in the latest Korokoro issue, Popplio, Litten, Rowlet, and Wonko were revealed to all have a secret. Well, I'm not saying this is confirmed. I'm not saying that this trumps legendary Pokemon being Guardians, because that seems like the most likely thing. I'm just trying to explore some side avenues here, because this is the only group of 4 that we have. There's a group of 4 islands, and there's a group of 4 Pokemon with a secret. I'm trying to put 2 and 2 together, even though it's kind of the off chance. But Wonko is actually a Pokemon of significance, because it seems to be based off of the Hawaiian Poidog. Now, the Poidog is extinct at this moment. It's not like extinct because of tragic means or anything. It just bred with so many other different species of dogs that's now a new breed, and there's still like local dogs native to Hawaii that people are just still kind of resembling Poidogs. Like this picture right here. Google Hawaiian Poidog, this comes up, even though it's not a Poidog because those are still extinct. So depending on Game Freak and their research, and if they came up with a similar results or something, this seems like inspiration for a Wonko, just a little. Like the coloration, the floppy ears, so maybe, you know, some of the traits that are found more commonly in dogs on Hawaii could go into a Wonko. And if it is a part of a Poidog, this could be significant as well, because the Poidog was seen as a spiritual protector of children. What better way than to feel that your child is safe than to give them a spiritual protector? Or at least in that kind of cultural reverence. It's kind of like when you give someone a lucky charm, like, hey, here's a coin that I, like, you know, it's like, well, it's like, here's my lucky coin. Take this, you know, it's something of value, even though it doesn't have any objective, direct, like, impact. You know, this is just a little dog, but if it's seen as a protector, if it's seen as a good luck charm, if it's seen as some kind of trinket in that regard, it's going to make the culture, it's going to make those people feeling a lot more confident when they're around that Pokemon or using it. And that could be a big thing here, that could be the idea of a Guardian. And we know that a Wonko is, if not common on the island, at least somewhere on the island, because that was where we saw it revealed. We run out of a house in the first little town, and there's a strange new Pokemon sprite chilling there that was revealed to be a Wonko. So maybe that has significance on the island, that this kid has a Wonko because it's supposed to protect him, that his family gave it to him, that these are pets and stuff around the area. But then the grammar Nazis come in. I'm saying this because you can see that when someone's talking about what a curious little thing that Tapu Koko is. It isn't that Tapu Koko are, because are would be plural, A-R-E, and then that would mean that the multiple Awonko could be something there, and that means you could encounter one of the many Awonko, which is a symbol of being blessed by Tapu Koko or something. So either Pokemon are going to be symbols of those guardian deities, guardian legendary Pokemon, some kind of concept, or maybe a side character saying one word in some kind of little off sentence isn't going to disprove this entire thing, because what if it's like that Tapu Koko is the very specific protector of Wonko, or evolutionary of a Wonko, or something that has to do with this Pokemon just in a more direct sense. It's the standout entity of that Pokemon that makes it the deity or the special guardian or something like that. Again, just kind of making these side tangents because it's a lot more obvious that an almighty, powerful, legendary Pokemon could go and be a guardian of an island, and then we could have multiple legendaries. But it still makes a lot of sense even when you bring the starter Pokemon into it. So maybe the starter Pokemon evolutions have significance on other islands, and that would make sense for them being starters. Like, why not pick 3 random Pokemon from a region? Well, if these evolutionary Pokemon mean something, that means giving them as a gift is going to be very significant. And it also kind of helps with Iwanko not being a starter Pokemon, because we've already seen the 3 starters that we choose. So Iwanko could potentially just be the one from the starter island, and giving someone that to start their journey with isn't as significant as saying, here's Litten, this is a representative of this island, and it's going to be the guardian there. It's a very powerful Pokemon, it has reverence in that regard, and it could explain significance behind the starter Pokemon, as well as all kinds of other crazy things going on. So yeah, and then we have Tapu Koko, once again, because Tapu Koko is the only information that we have, and I guess if we try to break down the word's meaning or break down something like that, which people already have, roughly translates to holy blood because Koko is blood, but in my research, Koko doesn't mean like the blood that runs in our veins. Blood is the concept of our spiritual ties between the deities and other spirituality stuff, at least according to Hawaiian lore and stuff. So I don't know, it's one of those things like, how in-depth is Game Freak going? Are they taking direct translations or loose translations of real worlds, or are they just making something up? Because this sounds like some kind of island region lingo. Tapu Koko, that sounds like something that would mean something in Hawaiian, or at least be like some kind of made-up language. That seems like it'd be pretty cool. So it might be familiarity over having some kind of direct translation, but at the same time, Game Freak might have done crazy amounts of research and know something that very few people do. Also, when we look at the big crater on the starter island, we were thinking that's Diamond Head Crater, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's not, because we have Koko Head Crater. So yeah, that's weird, that's called Koko Head, but Koko, we have very similar things. We have the name Koko being related to a crater, and then the crater shape that we see on the first island is actually more related to Koko Crater than it is with Diamond Head Crater. So maybe that actually has some significance, has more of like that longer teardrop kind of shape to it. But again, we don't know enough information to really make any hard statements about it. And then there's Solgaleo and Lunala, as this wasn't complicated enough. Okay, so we already know where Solgaleo and Lunala are. We can see the pillar, we can see their shrine, or whatever monument that is where they are in the trailers and stuff. So that means they're on one island, but are they both the guardians of that island? Is there another sub-legendary guardian in that regard? Who knows? Maybe we do get the legendary trio, but then Solgaleo and Lunala are part of that other island, or maybe the third legendary, like the one that's above them, rules that island, and then the trios, and then Solgaleo and Lunala do their things, and they got their own new forms now that are crazier and seem to have something, I don't know. There's a lot to talk about, and I feel like we're not going to get all of this information until the game even comes out. That's going to be like those little story and text dialogues that are going to be filled in as we go, and we're not going to know the full story until we're actually playing the game. Just speculation to keep an eye out for, you know, these seem like maybe significant things going on, but other than that, hope you guys enjoyed the video, hope you all have a nice day, and we'll see what the Alola Guardians are up to. Thank you very much for watching.